Elon Musk's son reveals shocking secret about the millionaire nobody expected. Lucas Musk, the 20-year-old son de tech titan Elon Musk, just dropped a bombshell nobody saw coming. Hidden away in the dusty corners of su small California town, Lucas stumbled upon something so explosive, it could tear through de la glimmering fachada de una de las familias más ricas del mundo. Whispers están llenando eso casi que manos están pelados en su cada movimiento. It all began on a rainy afternoon when Lucas, exhausted from the weight of his father's towering reputation, found an old, leather-bound diary buried in a forgotten box beneath the creaking floorboards of his childhood home. The pages were yellowed, fragile, and filled with secrets his late mother whispered only to herself, now flaming alive in ink. Torn between fear and curiosity, Lucas flipped through words drenched in pain and mystery. Each entry drew him deeper. Dark tales of the origins of their family's fortune, far from the public's shh. He was trembling, his chest tightening as the weight of these revelations crashed down harder than fame or fortune ever had. For years, he'd battled the crushing expectations of being Elon's son, always in the spotlight, always compared, always falling short. Now the stakes were even higher. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about who they really were. But Lucas wasn't alone. Clara, his childhood friend, and the one person who saw past the news headlines and public glare, stood by him. Her steady hands and fearless heart became a lifeline as they dove headfirst into the mystery. Together, they peeled back layers of deceit, chasing crumbs left by his mother's desperate scribbles. Yet with every step forward, danger loomed. A cold, ruthless executive from Elon's company appeared, shadowing their moves, tightening the grip on the family's secrets. His eyes burned with a warning. Some truths weren't meant to see the light. The stakes spiraled, threatening not just and then the shock. A revelation so deep it shook Lucas's world to its core. A secret connected to his own bloodline. Something no headline, no rumor had ever dared to touch. What had his mother been protecting, and why? Now Lucas is cornered. Should he expose the dark truth, risking everything he's known? Or keep quiet, trapped by loyalty and the looming legacy of one of the richest names on Earth? The town watches, breath held. The world waits, and Lucas just stares at the fading diary page, heart pounding, hands trembling. The story is far from over, and the next chapter is about to explode. What will he do when the truth demands a choice no son should ever face? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like. That really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Lucas's heart raced in his chest, the faded diary resting on his lap like a ticking bomb. His fingers brushed over the crinkled pages. The darkness of his family's secrets loomed larger than ever. Clara sat across from him, her brow furrowed with concern, her hand reaching out to touch. Lucas's pulse quickened. Who could it be? He exchanged a glance with Clara, both of them frozen in fear. The knock came again, louder this time, demanding to be answered. With hesitant breaths, Lucas stood up and walked to the door. He felt a heavy weight on his shoulders, the kind that came from the shadow of his father's empire. As he opened the door, there stood a woman he barely recognized. Her fierce gaze and determined stance screamed authority, and his stomach dropped as he recalled a past visit. The dark-eyed figure looming at his mother's funeral, the one who had given him chills. "Lucas Musk," she said, her voice sharp, slicing into the air. "We need to talk, now." "What? Who are you? Who sent you?" Lucas stammered, each syllable laced with dread. "Enough games!" She stepped inside, brushing past him without invitation. Her eyes darted around the room, appraising everything affixed to the walls. Family pictures, trophies, accolades. "Where's the diary?" Lucas felt his breath hitch. "What do you know about it?" "That doesn't matter. What matters is you need to give it to me. Now." She fixed her gaze on the book, hungry, desperate. Clara moved closer to Lucas, her protective instincts kicking into high gear. "What are you talking about? You have no right to come in here and demand anything." But the woman's gaze remained icy. "I have every right. You don't even understand what you're holding. The secrets in that diary, they're not just family secrets. They're dangerous." Lucas's mind spun. Dangerous how? The woman glanced toward the window, her posture shifting, as if she sensed unwanted eyes outside. "Remember what you found? The ruthless deals, the betrayal. They're just the tip of the iceberg. Your family's connections run deeper, darker. Do you know who your father made deals with?" Stomach churning, Lucas felt every nerve in his body ignite with fear. "What are you saying?" And just like that, the room plunged into chaos. A resounding crash from outside sent them all jumping, windows rattling. Clara gasped as shadows moved beyond the glass. Lucas's breath caught in his throat. The woman grabbed him by the shoulders, her grip like iron. "You have to listen. They're coming for you." Before he could answer, the door exploded inward, sending wood splinters and debris flying. A dark figure stood at the threshold, silhouetted against the fading light, the ruthless executive with the burning eyes. "You shouldn't have opened that diary," he shouted, voice echoing like a thunderclap. Eyes turned to Lucas with an intensity that could incinerate. "Now you've let them find you." Time seemed to stretch, the air thick with tension. Lucas's heart raced, his palms sweaty, the world collapsing around him. Clara's frightened face registered disbelief as the executive stepped forward, determination radiating from him. "What's happening?" Lucas felt the walls closing in, his mind racing, desperate to process the chaos. "Everything you thought you knew is about to change," the woman replied, her voice tense but deadly calm. And then everything went black. A world of fear, shadows, and unknown alliances spiraled out of reach. As Lucas was pulled into the chaos, engulfed by a truth he couldn't deny, he gripped the diary tighter. Was it truly a burden, or was it the key to survival? The shocking weight of loyalty and fear hung in the air. Lucas faced a choice, one that would rock the foundations of the Musk name forever. What had he really uncovered? What would it mean if he didn't keep that secret buried? The answer loomed ahead, dark and full of danger. As the room spun with confusion and rage, one question remained. Who could he trust when everything and everyone was unraveling? Lucas stared at the faded page, breath hitching, heart pounding. What if everything he believed was a lie? What if his mother's secrets were more dangerous than he ever imagined? Doubt pooled in his mind, an ocean of uncertainty swirling with every word he read. Clara leaned in closer, her gaze scanning the page, eyes wide, breath steady. Lucas, we need to think about this. What if... But then a loud crash echoed from the back of the house, startling them both. Lucas whipped around, fear coursing through him. Dark shadows loomed behind the cluttered walls, broken only by the flickering light of the old lamp. The sound of footsteps thudded heavily against the wooden floors, growing closer. "Who's there?" Lucas called, his voice shaky but loud. He felt Clara flinch beside him, and then a figure emerged, a tall man in a sharp suit, face obscured by shadows, but unmistakably intense, eyes cold like steel. It was the ruthless executive Lucas had seen lurking around, the one with the warning gaze. "Lucas Musk," the man drawled, barely disguising his disdain. "It's time we had a little chat." Lucas's pulse raced. Clara's grip tightened around his arm. They exchanged a panicked glance, silently communicating the fear that gripped them both. This wasn't just a conversation. It was a threat. Without waiting for a response, the man stepped closer, an air of authority radiating from him. "You think you can dig up old secrets and get away with it?" His voice was low, deadly calm. "You have no idea what you're about to unleash." "I'm not afraid of you," Lucas shot back, his voice firmer than he felt. He couldn't show weakness. He couldn't show fear. Not now. But the man only smiled, a cold, cruel smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You should be. Secrets, Lucas, they come with a price. And your family, it's built on blood." Lucas's stomach dropped. It felt like the ground beneath him was rumbling, shifting. "What do you mean?" Before the man could answer, a loud siren echoed outside, drowning them in its urgent wail. The executive's demeanor shifted, irritation flickering across his face. "It's time to go. This conversation is not over." Without another word, he turned and vanished into the shadows from whence he came. Lucas felt his heart race faster. Outside, he could already see lights flashing, silhouettes moving in a hurried fashion. "What just happened?" Clara breathed. Her voice was barely above a whisper, tinged with fear. "Who was that?" Lucas looked at the now empty space where the man had stood. "I don't know, but something isn't right. He's hiding something. About my mother, about our family." They both rushed to the window, peering through the glass. Uniformed officers swarmed around the yard, voices raised in confusion. Lucas's chest tightened with dread. Had he gone too far? What had they stumbled upon? Then, as if fate wanted to toy with him even more, a familiar face emerged from the crowd. A pale, haunted face of someone he hadn't seen in years. His own mother's sister, Lucy, unexpectedly appearing from the chaos. She locked eyes with Lucas, a flicker of recognition passing between them. She looked afraid, but also determined. What was she doing here? The woman who had been a ghost in his life now stood before him, ready to change everything. Looking as though she had been carrying a burden of her own. "Lucas!" she screamed above the siren's wail, urgent and desperate. "You need to listen to me! The truth! It's not what you think!" Lucas felt his breath hitch again. Everything he thought he understood about family, about loyalty, now hung by a thread. His heart raced, hands trembling, as he tried to decipher the chaos unraveling around him. In one moment, everything shifted. The path ahead was lined with shadows and questions, each darker than the last. And in that instant, it was clear the next chapter was going to be unlike anything he had ever imagined. What would Lucy reveal? And why had the man come with its warnings? Lucas's world was unraveling. As the sirens continued, he knew he was in a fight for something far greater than himself. Lucas felt the weight of the moment crash down on him. His mother's sister, Lucy, was here, and everything he had ever thought was stable now teetered on the brink of chaos. "What do you mean?" he shouted, barely controlling the rising tide of panic in his chest. As he locked eyes with her, time slowed. The sirens outside howled like beasts, filling the air with urgency. Lucy stepped closer, breaking the barrier of distance that had kept them apart for years. "You don't understand. This isn't just about the diary. It's about who you really are." Lucas blinked. "What do you mean?" But before she could answer, something changed in her eyes. A flicker of fear moved over her face, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "You have to trust me. Lucas, your father." The door burst open. The executive reappeared, catching them off guard. "No! You shouldn't be here!" he yelled, tension electrifying the air. His voice was a thunderclap, a sound that sent chills racing down Lucas's spine. "Get away from him!" Clara shouted, stepping protectively in front of Lucas, her body tense like a coiled spring. But it was too late. The executive's gaze switched to Lucy with icy fury. "You shouldn't have come here! You're risking everything!" And just like that, the fabric of their world seemed to unravel. Lucas's thoughts spun. He felt his heart thudding in his chest. "You know him?" he exploded, pointing at the man who had loomed darkly over his life. Lucy hesitated, breathless. Then, without warning, she ripped open her coat, revealing a small device strapped to her waist. It looked like a simple phone, but pulsed ominously with a faint red light. "I was sent to protect you." "Protect me?" Lucas whispered, disbelief washing over him in waves. Anger bubbled beneath the surface. "From what?" Before she could respond, a loud beeping erupted, startling Clara and Lucas. The executive's face went pale, his eyes darting from Lucy to the doorway. "They're here!" he shouted. Suddenly, another figure burst through the door. An officer, gun drawn, eyes wild. "Get on the ground!" Now, chaos erupted. Lucas ducked instinctively. Clara grabbed his arm, yanking him back. Lucy threw herself between them and the officer. "Wait! You don't understand!" Lucas's head spun. Shock and fear merged into a single suffocating force. "Explain! What's happening?" But just then, the device on Lucy's waist emitted a shrill alarm. She paled, her voice shaking. "We have to leave!" Now, the officer hesitated. Confusion etched on his face. "What's going on?" "Listen to me!" Lucy barked, her tone demanding. The secrets in that diary, your father's deals, they're involved with criminal organizations. You're in danger, Lucas, more than you ever knew. Criminal organizations? Lucas echoed, heart racing. All the pieces he thought he'd gathered, now scattered like broken glass. The room trembled with uncertainty as the executive's face twisted with anger. You shouldn't have involved the police. This changes everything. And then it hit him. Understanding washed over Lucas like ice water. You know I'm not just his son. The realization hung in the air like thick fog. I'm not just a Musk. No, the executive screamed, the rage distorting his face. You can't leave. They'll know. Before Lucas could process any of it, the sirens outside intensified, drowning out his racing thoughts. Shadows whipped past the windows. He turned to Lucy, fear gripping his heart tighter than a vice. What have you done? With a look that sent a chill down his spine, she replied, Everything I'm doing right now is to protect you. You're more important than you realize. And hacer verdes zancaran, venid de la tierra de prosperidad. Los sentidos no se escuchaban. El prosperímetro que se empezó a cambiar en totalmente. Las paredes y las inclinaciones más chistosas permanecían perfectamente cacones. The door splintered again. En este momento todo se quebró, dejando cielo preguntas ecopitando en el aire cargado. Where to trust him now? Why did this twist reshape everything he thought? The new chapter had begun, and Lucas, caught in the storm, was ready to fight for answers. Lucas stared at the fading diary page, heart thumping, hands trembling. The words echoed in his mind, but before he could grasp their weight, a loud crash jolted him from his thoughts. Claras, ona grande, ojos abiertos hacia el borde. A figure emerged, shadowy and intimidating. It was the ruthless executive, Mark, from Elon's company. He looked like a storm, sharp and cold. Lucas could feel the air grow heavy, suffocating. What are you doing here? Lucas stammered, his voice barely a whisper. Mark stepped closer, his gaze piercing. You don't know what you're messing with, kid. Drop it, now. Clara moved protectively beside Lucas, standing her ground. We won't back down, she declared, her voice steady, despite the tremor in her hands. Mark's lips curled into a cruel smile. You really think you're safe? He sneered. You think this diary holds the truth? You have no idea. He leaned in, lowering his voice to a near growl. You're playing with fire, and I won't let you get burned. A chill shot through Lucas. What did he mean? Suddenly, the lights flickered, and with a crash, they went out. Darkness enveloped them. Only the sound of Lucas's rapid breathing broke the silence. But in that blackness, something shifted. A noise echoed from below. A scuffle, followed by shouting. Lucas's heart raced. What's happening? He asked, panic rising. Clara grite su arma taite. Oh, no sé, deberíamos... Antes que la puerta del techado salió abierta y un segundo figura. Su cara familiar era casi la cara del prójimo. Lucas cayó por él a pierna, contenido en la pesebre. Después de poder decir más, se levantó la mano, aires verdes en su contienda. Su voz temblaba. Breaking con emoción. Lucas agarró hacia atrás, confusión surgiendo en su mente. Mom, but you're gone. You died. I faked it, she shouted, her voice reaching a fever pitch. All of it. I had to protect you. Mark shifted, his demeanor changing from a predator to a suddenly wary combatant. You shouldn't have come back, he spat, anger spilling over. As Lucas's head swirled, he locked eyes with Clara. They had uncovered secrets, woven deeply into their lives. Dark legacies, deception. But this, his mother was alive? Why? How? Mom, why? What did you uncover? What did you want to protect me from? The urgency of his questions spilled out in a rush. Before she could answer, the lights flickered back on, plunging them all into blinding light. The room illuminated the chaos, dusty boxes, the old diary now soaking in the truth. Lucas's mother, filled with fear, took a step towards her son, her expression desperate, but Mark moved to block her, fury in his eyes. "No! You can't ruin this!" he shouted, voice filled with dread. In that moment, everything seemed poised on the brink. Lucas felt the weight of the world crashing down on him again. What truths had his mother buried? What had Mark done to stay in control? "Get away from her!" Lucas shouted, his heart racing, determination sharpening through the confusion. But the air was electric with danger, and the stakes had risen. As Lucas prepared to fight for his family's truth, a distant sound filled the silence. Sirens, growing louder, closer. "What did you do?" Clara whispered, eyes darting between Mark and Lucas's mother. They were all holding secrets, and everything they had known was about to unravel. In that tense moment, Lucas felt the walls closing in. The choice hung palpably in the air. What would happen next? Would he learn the truth? And at what cost? Lucas sat there, heart pounding, staring at the faded diary page. The ink seemed to pulse with an eerie life of its own. Clara leaned closer, her breath warm against his ear. "What does it say?" she whispered, eyes wide with urging curiosity. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. The room felt smaller, the shadows creeping in, thickening around them. How had it come to this? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from downstairs. Lucas jumped. He jumped! Every nerve in his body igniting. "What was that?" Clara's voice trembled. Without thinking, they rushed to the door, breathless and wide-eyed. As they descended the stairs, Lucas's mind raced. Did someone break in? Had the executive followed them? They stepped cautiously, each creak of the wood floor punctuating the silence. When they reached the living room, they froze. The front window shattered, glass glittering like fallen stars scattered across the floor. And standing there, tall and imposing, was a figure cloaked in darkness, face obscured. "Lucas!" the figure called, voice low and menacing. Who are you?" Lucas stammered, confusion swirling in his chest. The intruder took a step forward, light flickering off something cold and metallic in their hand. "You need to understand." But the words were cut short. A familiar silhouette burst into the room behind the intruder. It was Elon! He stood there, eyes blazing, fuming with rage. "Get away from my son!" Time seemed to slow. Lucas's heart raced. "Dad? Don't!" Elon shouted, advancing toward the cloaked stranger with unyielding fury. But before he could reach them, the figure pulled back the hood, revealing Clara's face. Lucas's world tilted. "Clara? What the hell is going on?" Her eyes flickered with something dark. A flash of fear mingled with determination. I had to, Lucas, I had to protect you. Protect me from what? Anguish twisted inside him, each word feeling like a lash. The intruder delivered a warning glance at Clara, stepping back as if weighing their next move. You have no idea what's at stake here. Elon took a deep breath, his fists clenched. You shouldn't have come here. We've worked too hard to keep this family safe. Safe from what? Lucas asked, his voice rising. Clara stepped between them, tears glistening. From the truth. From what they want to do to you. Your mother. She knew. Lucas ached to understand, every second stretching excruciatingly. What did my mother know? What are you all hiding from me? Before anyone could answer, a loud siren wailed outside, getting closer. The very air crackled with urgency, and Lucas could feel it. A shift, a danger that settled coldly around them. Lucas, Clara pleaded, her hands shaking. You have to trust me. They're coming for you, and we don't have much time. Chaos erupted. The sleek black car screeched to a halt outside. The sounds of shuffling footsteps and shouts pierced through the house. We're out of time, Clara shouted, grabbing Lucas's arm. He looked at her, heart racing, mind racing. What choice did he have? Everything he thought he knew exploded around him. Family, friendship, loyalty. Clara was no longer just his childhood friend. She was entwined in a dangerous game. One that could endanger them all. As the door burst open, they had only moments to decide what they'd risk for the truth. Lucas felt like he was trapped on a precipice, teetering on the edge. Would he follow Clara into the unknown? Or turn back, running to his father and the safety of the familiar? The swirling darkness encroached, and Lucas took a breath, both terrified and exhilarated. What now? He whispered, the very words igniting a storm of uncertainty. Clara's eyes met his, determined, pleading, we fight. And with that, Lucas stepped forward into the chaos, ready to confront the truth, even if it shattered everything he'd ever known. Lucas stood there, heart racing, as his fingers traced the old diary's brittle pages. The weight of his discoveries pressed down like a thick fog. What had his mother really hidden from him? What truths lingered in the shadows, waiting to breach the surface of their polished lives? Clara leaned in closer, her breath quickening. What are you going to do, Lucas? You have to decide. But just then the door creaked open. A figure filled the doorway, tall and imposing. It was his father's executive, the very one who'd been trailing their every move. Lucas felt a surge of ice run through him. Clara's eyes widened, uncertainty flashing across her face. What are you doing here? Lucas demanded, his voice shaking but firm. The man stepped forward, eyes cold as steel. You've gone too far, Lucas. You need to put that diary down and forget everything you've read. Lucas felt his chest tighten. Why? What are you hiding? The executive's smile was chilling, devoid of warmth. Some truths are best left buried. Your family's legacy is built on sacrifices. Sacrifices from those who cared enough to protect you. Before Lucas could respond, the air around them shifted. A loud crash reverberated from outside, the kind of noise that trembles through your bones. Instinctively, They turned toward the sound. Clara grabbed Lucas's arm, her grip tight and anxious. The front yard had transformed into chaos. People were shouting. A car had crashed into the fence, metal crumpling like paper. A figure stumbled out, a woman, wild-eyed, covered in dirt and with streaks of blood on her arms. Gasps erupted from the onlookers gathered around, their faces a mix of shock and intrigue. "Lucas!" The woman's voice cut through the air. It was his mother? Alive? He couldn't comprehend the sight before him, but he felt a rush of adrenaline. "Mom?" His words wobbled on the edge of disbelief. She limped toward him, breath hitching as she tried to speak. "I didn't think. I thought I lost you." Clara looked between them, jaws dropped, confusion etched on her face. The executive took a step back, his bravado faltering as panic flickered in his eyes. "Get her out of here, Lucas!" he shouted suddenly, glancing around as if danger lurked in every corner. But Lucas couldn't move. Memories flooded back, snippets of laughter, warmth, and tenderness from a life he thought was long gone. "What happened? Why did you leave?" Tears streamed down his cheeks, mixing with the rain that started to fall. His mother's gaze shifted, and a voice permeated through the chaos. "You don't understand, Lucas. There are things about our family, things I kept hidden for your safety. You can't trust anyone here, not even your father." Gasps rippled through the onlookers. The weight of her words hung thick in the air, electrifying the already tense atmosphere. The executive stepped forward, the mask of control slipping. "Enough! You're putting everyone in danger." But Lucas' mother pressed on, urgency surging in her voice. "You have the diary. It holds everything. Our truth. I need you to listen." And just like that, the tension exploded. At that moment, a siren wailed in the distance, growing louder, drowning out all other sounds. Panic erupted, people scattered, and Lucas' world spun. "Mom, wait!" Lucas cried, but it was too late. The chaos enveloped them. Clara grabbed his hand tightly, fear swirling in her eyes. "What do we do now?" she gasped, breathless. Lucas's thoughts raced. Everything he thought he knew shifted. His family, their secrets, the very foundations of his life. None of it felt solid anymore. Trapped between a newfound reality and the life he once knew, Lucas faced a choice, one that would ripple out in ways he couldn't yet fathom. His mother was back, but what did it all mean? And what awaited him in the pages of that haunting diary? And as Lucas wrestled with fear and hope, a dark question loomed. Would the truth set him free, or pull him under? Lucas felt the world tilt beneath him. His mother stood there, alive, drenched and wild-eyed, every inch of her presence a swirl of chaos and love. "Mom!" he gasped, disbelief carving through him like ice. "Lucas, please, you need to listen." She took a step closer, but the moment was shattered by the booming voice of the executive. "Get her out of here!" His urgency sliced through the air, thick with tension. Before Lucas could respond, a flash of movement caught his eye. The unknown figure, a person cloaked in a long coat, slipped out of the shadows behind them. Lucas's breath caught in his throat as the adrenaline surged. Who was this stranger? "Let her speak," Clara shouted, her voice rising above the confusion. "She's your mother." "No," the executive snarled. his expression twisted with rage. "She's a danger to you, Lucas. You don't know what you're getting into." Suddenly, the cloaked figure lunged forward, the hood falling back to reveal a familiar face. It was Lucy, his aunt, her eyes wide and frantic. "Lucas, you have to come with me now. They're coming." "What? Who's coming?" Confusion thickened like a fog, twisting around Lucas's thoughts. Then a sharp crack echoed from behind them, and everyone turned. The sounds of sirens roared outside, drowning them in chaotic urgency. A loud crash followed, metal clanging against metal. The backyard was alive with shouts and the screech of tires. "Lucas!" his mother cried, her voice breaking. "We don't have time. Trust us, please." But the urgency of her plea shattered like glass as a dark figure appeared in the doorway, a police officer, gun drawn. "Get down!" he shouted, eyes scanning the room. "Stop!" Mark the executive yelled, stepping in front of Luca's mother, body tense like a coiled snake. "Don't harm anyone! She's a liability!" Chaos erupted. Lucy surged forward, gripping Lucas's arm with a strength he didn't expect. "You don't understand! They'll stop at nothing!" In a heartbeat, the lights flickered, the air crackled, and everything turned upside down. A loud crash resonated outside, like thunder striking the ground. Just then, another voice cut through the chaos. A voice Lucas feared he'd never hear again. Lucas. His heart plummeted. It was his father, emerging from the storm, face set with determination. But there was something different in his eyes. An urgency that felt foreign, almost desperate. "What are you doing here?" Lucas's voice trembled, trying to comprehend the shifting landscape of allegiance. "Protecting you!" Elon shouted, anger and fear threading through his words. "But it's all too late. There's been a breach." Lucas's stomach dropped as he looked back at Clara. "What breach?" Before he could process, explosions of sound tore through the air as figures surged into the room. More officers, frantic shouts, orders barked. "Step away from him," an officer yelled, shoving past the chaos to aim his firearm straight at the executive. "Drop it!" But before anyone could react, Mark whipped around, and time slowed. With a swift motion, he reached for something concealed in his jacket, a glimmer of metal in the harsh light just before chaos erupted. "Get down!" shouted the officer, but it was too late. In that second, the air split wide open, and everything exploded. Gunfire rang out. Echoes filled the room. Screams mixed with crashes. Lucas dove to the ground, heart galloping, fear slicing through him like a knife. As the dust began to settle, everything felt altered, deeper. There, in the dim light, was a figure crumpled against the wall. A body he instantly recognized. "No!" Lucas gasped, hands shaking, the world around him blurred. Trust shattered. "Elon!" Clara shrieked, her voice wailing through the haze as all that was familiar twisted into something dark and unrecognizable. Pain twisted in Lucas's chest, flooding his mind with confusion. Who was lying there? Why did it feel like everything he believed was falling apart? The room erupted into chaos, but amidst it all, he stood frozen. Would he be brave enough to confront the truth now? The answers hovered just beyond reach, and Lucas felt a chilling realization sink in. Nothing would ever be the same. Lucas stood there, eyes wide, breath caught in his throat. The body crumpled against the wall was unmistakable. Elon, his father, lying there as if caught in a deep sleep. The weight of shock hung heavy in the air. Clara gasped, a hand flying to her mouth, her face pale. Confusion buzzed like a swarm of angry wasps. "What is happening?" Lucas shouted. Panic clawed at his throat. Sirens blared outside, drowning out reason. Desperation spread through him as adrenaline surged. This wasn't just chaos. It felt like a betrayal. "I didn't mean to." His mother's voice trembled, urgency spilling over. "We need to get out. Now." "Get out?" Lucas felt every word twist like a knife. "Get out of where?" "My father. He's hurt." "Lucas, listen," she pleaded, stepping closer, her eyes shimmering with unspoken pain. "This isn't just about him. It's about the truth, buried deeper than we ever imagined." Mark glared, rage flickering behind his cold expression. "You think you can just come back and upend everything? You're putting us all in danger!" Before Lucas could respond, a deafening crash echoed through the room, a storm brewing just beyond the walls. The cloaked figure, Lucy, moved with purpose as she rushed to his side, pushing Lucas back. "We don't have much time." "Why? What's happening?" Lucas's heart thundered, dread coiling tighter. But before anyone could answer, a series of explosive sounds shook the ground. Impact! Debris rained from above as shadows danced in the doorway. Suddenly, a group of masked intruders stormed into the room, guns drawn and eyes glinting with cold intent. The air turned electric. "Get down," a voice barked, and instinct took over. "Lucas stuffed behind the nearest piece of furniture. Clara right beside him." "Mom!" he cried out, fear gripping him as he saw her huddled behind the couch, eyes wide with terror. Mark stood frozen. The authority he usually commanded shattered in an instant. "You should have stayed hidden," he yelled, panic seeping into his tone. Then came the twist. Orchestrated chaos. One masked figure pulled a gleaming object from their belt, a detonator. "This ends now," they shouted, frustration fueling their every word. The room quaked with the threat of effort and terror. Lucas's blood ran cold. In one fluid motion, Lucy lunged toward the intruder, but it was too late. The room erupted into chaos. An explosion rocked the house, sending Lucas tumbling. Shadows swallowed him. When he came to, darkness surrounded him, panic swimming in his chest. He blinked, feeling disoriented. Just then, a flicker cut through the haze. His mom's face smeared with dirt and fear. "Lucas!" she cried, urgency cutting through the confusion. "They're after you." But before he could respond, Mark surged forward, eyes wide with realization. "No! You can't! You don't understand!" Another explosion echoed, more distant this time. The walls shook. Lucas felt the weight of the truth crashing down around him. "This isn't just a fight for survival. This is about everything," his mother said, voice trembling. "The people coming after you, they want to erase our family legacy." Legacy? Lucas felt lost in a fog of uncertainty. What kind of legacy? As if in answer, a voice seeped through the chaos. A voice he thought he'd never hear again. "Your father, he's not who you think he is." Every breath felt heavier, revelation blasting like a shockwave in his mind. The truth was wrapped in lies, tighter than he could fathom. "Mom, what do you mean?" But just then, a loud crack sounded from behind, pulling everyone's focus. The door burst open, revealing a familiar figure, his mother's sister, Lucy, standing defiantly, face etched with determination. "No more lies, Lucas," she shouted, breathless. "Everything you know is about to unravel." The tension hung in the air, thick and suffocating. As Lucas took a hesitant step back, the ground beneath him felt unsteady. Trust slipped through his fingers like grains of sand, and then he realized the fight for survival had turned into a war for the very fabric of who they were. The truth twisted and turned in the shadows, waiting to be shined upon. What else was hidden? What else hadn't he known? The world was spiraling, and as the chaotic storm brewed around him, the question lingered, heavy in the air. Who could he trust when everything and everyone was unraveling? Lucas stumbled backward, still grappling with the whirlwind of chaos surrounding him. His heart raced as he caught sight of his mother, alive, yet shaken, her emotions spilling forth in frantic whispers. "They want to erase our family, Lucas. We have to get you out of here." Clara's grip tightened on his arm. "What are we going to do?" She looked between Lucas's mother and Mark, who glared at the unfolding scene, his authority slipping away like sand through fingers. "Can we even trust her?" "Trust me, I know how this feels," came Lucy's voice, cutting through their uncertainty. "We don't have time to hesitate." With loud sounds echoing outside and urgency thickening the air, time felt like it was slipping away. Lucas glanced back at his father, Elon, limp against the wall, fear clawing at him. The truth of this moment weighed heavier than he ever thought possible. "We have to help him!" Lucas shouted, desperation spilling from his lips. Mark shook his head, eyes flickering with panic. "He's already lost! We need to escape!" "Escape?" Lucas echoed, feeling the sting of betrayal. "What's the point if we leave him?" A tense silence fell. Clara's voice rose en urgencia. "If you both quiere, entonces lace un plan. We can't let them win." Outside, the shadows crept closer. The voices grew louder. An alarm, shouting, urgency spinning around them like a whirlwind. The tension was palpable, swelling in the room until it felt like it would burst. Lucy's eyes met Lucas's, raw and determined. "We can't stay here. It's now or never." "Fine." Lucas took a deep breath, heart racing. "We move. It's time to reveal the truth." There was no turning back now. They had stumbled upon something bigger than themselves. With shaky hands, Lucy reached for the diary. "This holds everything. It's our way to fight back." Mark, suddenly calm yet more threatening, moved closer. "You have no idea what you're doing." But Lucas felt his anger harden into resolve. "No idea? This is my life!" He stepped forward, every emotion pouring through him. "I won't let fear define my future." Chaos erupted once more as police sirens blared louder, flooding the atmosphere with yet another layer of urgency. They had to move now. The risk surged, heightened by a spark of hope flickering in Lucas's chest. As they prepared to escape, Lucas felt a bittersweet pang for the family he once knew. It was all tangled up now. Secrets, trust, love lost. But as he glanced at Clara, his heart steadied. He wouldn't face this alone. "Follow me," Lucy shouted, breaking through the haze of uncertainty. But just as they turned toward the exit, the door fell open, revealing uniformed officers with grim, serious expressions. "Hands where we can see them," a commanding officer shouted, guns drawn. "Run!" Lucy cried, leading them away as adrenaline coursed through Lucas's veins. They dashed down the hall, pulses racing, determination driving them forward. As they escaped into the night, a spark of fear melted away into something brighter. Lucas might not have all the answers, but he was ready to fight for the truth. Shadows danced around them, but he wouldn't let fear slip into their hearts ever again. You can't miss what's coming next. Check to keep up with the thrilling twists and exclusive stories. Subscribe immediately to the channel. Hit that red button right now so you won't miss a single moment. Smash that like button now and feed our algorithm. Every single click counts. Flood the comment section with your reactions, thoughts, and theories about Lucas's journey. How do you think it will end? Boom! Don't wait even a second longer. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see this ending. Your support means everything, and only true fans know the power of backing us up.